Mike, what are you pissed off about today?
I am pissed off about what is happening in this country, what continues to happen in this country, what continues to go ignored in this country, to the point that we have what we had last night. Martin Luther King said, riots are the language of the unheard. And I put it this way: people riot when the demands of peaceful protest go ignored. They're mad that people are rioting, but they were mad when they were peaceful protesting. When Colin Kaepernick took a knee, that was the most offensive thing white people had ever seen in their life. How dare you take a knee during the national anthem? And then we have what we have now, because the peaceful protest went ignored. White people see a riot. I see contents under pressure that have been shaken too many times. And when those contents explode, they're not aimed, they're not directed, they're not thought. They just explode. You can't even expect people to reason when you have pushed them and pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. I'm actually fairly impressed that last night the anger was directed at what made them angry, which was the police precinct, and not just a nail salon or other businesses, although there were a couple in that area that were burned. But at least this time they actually directed the anger where it belonged. And I know people will be shocked to hear me say that, but I understand the anger that people have over and over and over. I mean, we're dealing at the same time, we're dealing with Ahmaud Arbery, we're dealing with Breonna Taylor, and then this happens. We haven't even gotten over the Arbery thing yet. We haven't even gotten Breonna Taylor, and this guy.
So let's go back and let me say something to you. Let me say something to you. So there's 3 persons.
Yes.
In 30 days.
Yes.
That we know about.
Right. Right.
This is what I say. I say that anger is illegal. Anger is illegal. And I'm angry. I'm angry, but I know that anger is illegal. At the beginning of the day, I am who I am. At the end of the day, I am who I am. I fight every day not to become what I was. Then the question is, what was I? I was what something or someone made me. Made me mad. Made me go off. So I'm fighting that constantly. Drugs made me high. Religion made me judgmental. And I'm fighting that. And the suppression of that creates the volcanic reaction that you're talking about. And when it explodes, it's not directed at anybody. It's just a whole bunch of stuff in that barrel. And when that thing hits, whatever is in it splatters out over everything. Yeah. There's a scripture that says, anger, but sin not.
Right.
I say that anger is illegal. It must be managed. For if it's not managed, then we wind up with what we have. Right. So we have those 3 persons, right? We have, the first one was
Ahmaud Arbery.
Huh?
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery, right? So we have him. And what about him?
As you know, he's just out jogging. And 3 white people decide that jogging in that neighborhood is not going to be tolerated. Not by him. There's no way that the guy who just filmed the video just happened to see a black person jogging and thought, ooh, this seems strange. Let me video this. He was part of it. He was friends with the 2 guys and helped cut Ahmaud off. So the whole
No connection,
the
no
whole
connection,
story.
no connection to the three people. They didn't know him. He didn't know them. They just that
At
day they just decided to take his
what
life.
what they knew about him was all that they needed to know. He was a black man.
Hmm.
And they didn't like him being in their neighborhood, jogging or otherwise.
Number two.
Number two, Breonna Taylor.
Hmm.
Shot in her bed
Jesus.
while she is sleeping. I don't know what could possibly justify that. I cannot fathom what police report can come out to justify that. And when that police officer gets away with it, as seems to happen way too often, what we saw last night is child's play to what's going to happen.
You said when that police officer gets away with it.
Yeah, because
that police officer can get away
how
with it.
often have we seen things that we knew, oh, this is an open and shut case. This is on video. It's clear. And then they get away with it. I don't know how much people are expected to take.
Number three.
Number three, George Floyd.
My namesake.
Yes. Who we all saw with a man taking a knee. It wasn't okay for Kaepernick to take a knee, but it was okay for him to take a knee on the man's neck. And he wasn't even holding him down. We saw video today of two other police officers sitting on top of the man, holding him down. So for Chavez to have had his knee on his neck was completely unnecessary. First of all, as John P. Key pointed out on your show the other day, if you're face down on the ground and in handcuffs, you're not going anywhere. You can't get up.
And as I pointed out, the way that the handcuffs are, I've been handcuffed several times. Any movement, the handcuffs tightens.
Yeah.
So you once you put them on, you don't want to do too much movement now.
Right. You're doing everything to relax.
Relax, right.
Which is very hard to do in that situation. It's very hard to relax. And so we saw the man with his hand in his pocket, very casual, as though he had done this 100 times. And two other people were already holding him down. And then they were taunting him while he said, I can't breathe, please. I can't breathe. My stomach hurts. And they were saying, you can hear them saying to him, then get up and get in the car, while they are sitting on him and have a knee on his neck, telling him to get up.
I want you to hold right there for a moment. I believe we have Pastor Dick Burnell on the phone. That's good, because I want to have his interview. You stay right there and we'll piece this together, all come together this way.
Okay.
So Mike, I would like to take a question or two that was asked to, I don't even know if we have them. A question or two that was asked to Dick Burnell and ask you the same question.
You might get a different answer.
That's what I want to see. But I don't know. Those of you that have questions, put it in the chat. Those of you that want to speak to Mike, raise your hand. Do we have a question that can we get any of the questions that we asked Pastor Dick? And ask
the same question?
Yeah, one or two of those questions. And the reason why, because when we asked him one of the questions, I was looking at you and your face was kind of different.
Yes.
Yes. So here we go.
Yes.
Do you think the president is handling this pandemic and racist ordeal correctly, or if he is adding to it with his silence in tweets?
Now, I did not ask her to ask that question. I said, get one of the questions, but that was particularly the question that was asked when your face had a different look.
And that's the one I hoped she would ask.
Wow. So let's do it.
The answer is
Here we go.
no and yes.
Okay.
No, he is not handling it properly. Every time he has an opportunity to do something or say something presidential to actually bring some kind of clarity and some kind of healing in this country, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's George Floyd or whether it's a riot, he is always on the wrong side. He always says the wrong thing. Now, it's what he believes, but it's wrong. Donald Trump does not care about America. Donald Trump does not care about Black people. Donald Trump does not care about white people. Donald Trump does not care about Trump supporters. Donald Trump cares about Donald Trump. And every single thing that he does and every single thing that he says comes from that. Everything is about getting reelected, improving his brand.
Do you have security?
Not enough now. No, but you know what? I have to tell
you don't think that some of Donald Trump's policies have helped the church?
They may have. They may have helped certain parts of the church, but here's the problem with that. He does that under the guise of freedom of religion. Freedom of Christianity is not freedom of religion. He is not the president of Christians. He is the president of America. And America is more than Christians. So Christians get upset when things don't go their way or something happens that doesn't fit their biblical view. But there are people that are in America who don't believe in the Bible, or who don't believe in the Bible the way Pentecostals do, or Baptists do, or Methodists do. So that's why we have freedom of religion. I call it that it should be freedom from religion. Let the church be the church. Let the government be the government, and don't have the two mixed. Now, let me qualify that by saying, as a Christian, and I am one. People wonder sometimes when I say things. I am one. As a Christian, I think that your Christianity should be involved in your politics. I think your Christianity should be involved in your worldview. But you have to also be aware there are other people in this country who aren't you, who do not think like you, who don't want to be you, who don't want to go to your church, and they're Americans too. And the same laws have to apply to them. So we can't totally Christianize America. We get the idea that America is a Christian nation. It is not. It is not a Christian nation, and if it was, it would be unconstitutional. Because the Constitution says the government cannot pass any law that not only prohibits the free exercise of a particular religion, but cannot adopt a particular religion. Because if they did, where are the Jews? Where are the Muslims? Well, we have Donald Trump, who was put in by white evangelical Christians, and we see where Muslims are. They're banned if he had his way. Fortunately, we have a court system that, tries to realize the law.
I got a question for you. Do you have security?
Not enough.
Okay. All right. So now let's go back to the top of your discussion. How this thing has angered you.
Yes. Well, here, what it really comes down to, and the part I really want to address is.
And I want to say thank you for coming on the program. And you're not on the program because you are a friend of mine or you do my production. You're on the program because of how you think, and it's honest, and it's coming from a real place, and that's where you're at. And I'm going to keep you on here. I don't care how many people say you pissed them off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, for having me on.
Thank you to the people that were saying that.
Oh yeah. Well, where would my show be if people weren't pissed off? Yeah. But I really want to address white people's role in this. Racism is a white people problem. It's not just a black people problem, because the racism was caused by white people, and only white people can fix it. and they cannot fix it by ignoring it. We cannot hope that it goes away if we don't talk about it, particularly if we keep doing it while we're not talking about it. So people say they're sick of hearing it. Well, don't you think Black people are sick of being shot? Don't you think Black people are sick of being followed around a grocery store or a retail store? Don't you think Black people are sick of having the cops called on them in Central Park? You know, you cannot throw rocks and hide your hand.
Anymore.
Right. We've done it for 401 years now. 401 years. And white people love to say, they love to reduce everything to slavery. If you bring up racism, they say slavery's ended almost 200 years ago. The Black people I know aren't complaining about what happened to them 200 years ago and 300 years ago and 400 years ago. The Black people I know are upset about what happens to them still every single day.
So when Bishop George Bloomer says he believes that this one is different and that change is going to come out of this, but he's afraid that the old guards would deal with it from their old playbooks, you say what about that?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think part of
really?
Huh?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, because you know, I'm always reading faces, and when I said it, you was like, you know, so I was wondering. That's why I brought it back up.
I think part of what makes this one different is not just that it's on video, but women heard the man say, cry out for his mother while he's dying, and even white mothers felt that. My biggest concern about what happened last night in Minneapolis with the riot is that the same white people who this event had their attention will now shift their focus to the riot, and it will undo anything that they may have gained with people, because we love to deflect. White people love to deflect to something else.
This is why I said that the governor should have came out immediately and focused. The governor knew that the indictment was coming down today. There's no way that the governor didn't know it.
Absolutely.
The governor made no mention of it at all.
No, he should have at least said it's coming out. You know, if he didn't want to jump the gun on the DA, at least say it's coming out shortly. You'll know everything in a few minutes.
Or it better come out.
Everything that the DA didn't say. See, here's a deep. I'm going to let you in on a secret to white people. White people.
Well, everything you let me in on is a secret to white people. And I think some of the white people is finding out the secret.
Right. One of the reasons that white people were so scared of Barack Obama becoming president, or any Black person becoming president, or any Black person being in a position of power, is because white people are afraid, deathly afraid, that if Black people get into power, that Black people will do to white people,
oh God,
what white people have done to every race on the planet. And in the long history of humanity, there is nothing to even remotely suggest that would happen. How many times has this, what is happening now, happened and Black people marched? They didn't go kill a bunch of white people. They marched. Barack Obama was president for 8 years. None of that happened. And white people are still terrified of it happening. White people are still afraid that Barack Obama is coming for your guns. He's not president. But they still think that's happening. They are terrified. And they're afraid. That's why they're afraid of losing their majority. That's why they wear hats that say "Make America White Again." I mean, great again. But that's what they mean. When was America ever great for anyone but white people? Now we can draw comparisons to other countries and what it's like to live here, but when has America been great for anyone but white people? And
Give me another one of those questions that was asked to. You got another one? Wow.
Yeah.
We're gonna take. We got questions coming in, so we'll take your own question. Okay. But I wanted Dick's questions, some of Dick's questions to be asked to you because your face was opposing, and Dick's been on both sides of the, you know.
Yes. I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled because he has a great love for Black people.
Yeah, and his family, his grandchildren are Black.
Yes, and he has a great love for people who don't care anything about Black people. So I'm confused.
All right, let's go on, Mike.
Complicated people.
Well, you won't be getting invited to Dick's church. Let's go.
So how do we as Americans get white people to stop their hatreds towards African Americans?
Well, I've heard it said even this week, you cannot legislate morality, but you can punish crime. And if we would actually hold these racist police,
Mike, that's good.
People accountable.
No, Mike, I got to call you back to that thing. Go back and say that again.
You cannot legislate morality, because morality comes from inside. You have to be changed from the inside to be a moral person. But you can punish crime. And if murdering an unarmed Black person who is handcuffed, laying on the ground, or jogging in the neighborhood, or laying in her bed, or standing outside his broken down truck like Terrence Crutcher, all of these things, or walking home from the store with a bag of Skittles and some ice, some tea. If you can punish the person who did that and stop letting them get away with it, maybe they would stop doing it. And if police officers would stop covering for police officers who are criminals. I'll tell you what, when I was growing up in high school, the people in my small town that I grew up in who are the police officers today were the bad kids when I was at school. They haven't changed that much. They're just in a position of power now, and some of them abuse it. And if a good cop covers for a bad cop, then the good cop is also a bad cop. And if they would stop doing that, and if police officers know you're not going to be protected if you commit murder, then maybe they stop committing murder. But like I said the last time I was on with you, the reason they keep doing it is because they can. They keep getting away with it. And they know that it is legal to kill a Black person in this country if you're white, and especially if you're a cop. That is a fact.
What happened in 2014 that is like 2020?
Help me.
They say if you don't remember history, you're bound to repeat it. Is that how it goes?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Michael Brown. And the city burned down.
They sure did. I can't believe it's been that long already. Seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah. I was there doing the Michael Brown thing, and I was at the protest. I was running away from coughing, running away from
tear gas.
Tear gas.
Yeah.
I had ran so fast that I had bruises on my butt cheeks. That's when you call it hall running, okay? That's the truth. I mean, literally pain from running that fast. They cared about no one. When they listen, the media was in trouble when when the fury from those police officers, that military style police officers had tanks out there, started going, and they came, Mike, I'm telling the truth, they hooked up the machines to fire hydrants and was shooting water out of a cannon.
Wow.
There was a little car there. When the cannon hit the water, hit the car, it flipped the little car. You know those little one cars?
Yes.
It flipped the car, so you know it would have killed the person.
Wow.
That was the strength. That was then. This is even worse.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the television and there are protests going on everywhere. In New York City at Barclay.
I'm going to be at one tomorrow. I'm going to be at a protest tomorrow.
Don't you think that this is spreading the coronavirus?
Absolutely. Yes. And I realized something last night watching the riot in Minneapolis. What I was amazed by at first was that, when the protesters went to the Capitol to protest the stay-at-home orders, almost none of them wore a mask. Last night, I saw very few people not wearing a mask. And I thought, oh my God, at least these people are taking the coronavirus seriously.
No, they're not taking the coronavirus seriously.
They're not taking
the coronavirus.
If I got a mask on, you can't.
They're not taking the coronavirus seriously.
You don't know who I am.
They're not taking the coronavirus seriously. They got the mask on so that when they do the looting, nobody know who they are.
Yeah. So when the cops go through the video, they're like, I don't know who that is. Yeah, I realized that later. I said, oh, this is brilliant.
But you know what we seen here that we've never seen before? 50-50.
Yeah.
Whites and blacks.
Yeah. Lots of white people were out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say this too about in response to the latest or the person's question. I don't know if it's a little.
Yeah.
This isn't something that you can make white people do. But this is something white people need to do. And I think this is part of the problem. So every time one of these happens, social media is filled with black people who are outraged and filled with white people who want to throw out statistics like, well, more black people kill black people than white people. Or
black crime.
Or more white cops. More white people get killed by cops every year than black people get killed by cops. And okay, that is a statistical fact, but there is a truth that is behind the fact that the fact does not tell. One, it doesn't tell that, so while black people are only 13% of the population, the statistic they will throw out is that they commit 53% of the crimes. And that's simply not true. And the way we know it's not true is this week in Central Park, that if there had not been a video,
wow,
that young man would have been in jail
or dead
like all the other people, and would have been another statistic. Just because black people are in jail or arrested doesn't always mean they committed the crime they're arrested for. So that's one big issue, that the people that throw out those statistics, you can ignore those. Secondly, they love to tell you that, well, what would, and I had this argument 2 days ago with somebody on Facebook. And he said, well, what would you say to my black friends who agree with me 100%? And I wanted to say, talk to Joe Biden. but yeah. But here's what it really comes down to. I care about what happens to black people because my best friend in high school was black. I mean, we spent every day together. I took him to school. I had a car. He didn't. I took him to school every day. We rode home from school every day. We were in yearbook staff. We worked on the yearbook all night long at his house. He stayed the night at my house. The first time I ever had chitlins was his mother made chitlins, and I had some. And then as she continued cooking, I told him, "Can we get the heck out of here? Because this smell, I cannot take it." So
for the record, chitlins is Italian.
Is it?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. I care about what happens to Black people because Bishop Carlton Pearson is my.
Chitlins is not Italian, right?
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But because Bishop Carlton Pearson is my spiritual father and my friend. I care about what happens to Black people because Bishop George Bloomer is my friend. I care about what happens to Black people because Bishop Noel Jones is my friend. Because Pastor John P. Key is my friend. Because Brian Keith Williams is my friend. And many, many people who are not famous, who are Black, are my friend. So if you talk about your Black friend and you don't care about what happens to Black people, how can you say you have a Black friend?
Mm.
You can't. Because you would care. I care about what happens to gay people because I have friends who are gay.
No.
So I don't want to see gay people beaten up and stuff that the church has done to them.
Yeah, neither. Yeah.
So if you have friends with people, if you are friends with people and you spend time with people and you get to know their experiences and their family and what they've gone through, how can you not care what happens? And so the reason that so much of this continues to go on is because we live in our bubbles. Now, white people stay in their bubbles. Black people cannot stay in their bubbles because when Black people go to work, by and large, they have to integrate into society, which is white dominated. So they go home to a bubble, many of them, but they're able to integrate, and white people get to stay right where they are on their whatever they do and don't interact and don't get to know anybody. And so the fear of what they don't know continues, and it manifests itself in anger, in racism, in all kinds of ways. I remember Ron Carpenter last night said that this problem was bigger than racism because no human should be treated that way. But it is racism because it was racism that made that man not even see him as a human being.
As a human. Yeah.
Used to be in the Constitution that Black people were 2/3 of a human being.
Yeah.
And that was only so that white people could benefit from them as property. And many people still see them the same way today.
Question.
Okay, so someone said this morning on the radio, they started talking about the Breonna Taylor situation. And to sum it up, on the radio station, they said that the police went to the right house, that the only reason they shot was because the guy in the house shot at them first. And other people have said later on that that story is not true, but hearing what they are saying or the story that they're putting out, does this change your opinion on that situation with Breonna Taylor?
First, I don't know if that story is true. I have not heard that story. Have you heard that, Bishop Bloom?
No, I haven't heard that story.
So first, I don't know if it's true, and I don't really like to comment too much on things that I don't know about.
And remind me to tell you a story after you get finished that. Don't forget your point. Remind me to tell you a story. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if it was true, it would not change my opinion because the cops should have known where they were and they should have known who they were shooting. But they don't. They just, they go in, guns drawn, guns blazing, and again, because they can. So there's no real value of human life except for theirs. Because look at this.
And how do you kill the girl in her sleep? How do you kill her in the bed?
In her sleep. And the same week, the guy up north that had killed 2 people and was on the run finally got found. He was armed. He had multiple weapons, and he was not shot. He was arrested. The guy who shot up a church, Mother Emanuel Church in South Carolina.
Well, don't start that. That's my friend's church. I knew the pastor, and they took him and drove him to McDonald's to get something to eat. Took his handcuffs off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let him go to the fountain and fill up his cup with tea.
It's a tragic.
Yes.
It's injustice. It's injustice. And I'm not saying that Dylan Roof should have been shot and killed. I'm saying that neither should Ahmaud Arbery or Terrence Crutcher or any of these other people who were unarmed, not even a threat to the police officer, who were shot and killed, or George Floyd, who was suffocated. We definitely have 2 different kinds of justice in America. And I'll say this, Bishop Bloomer.
Mm-hmm.
Being Black in America is a crime. Just being Black.
I know. I've been indicted for it several times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you supposed to remind me to do something? What are we supposed to remind me to do?
I'm supposed to remind you to tell a story that you didn't tell me what the story was.
Now, the story is the story I'm going to tell you may be tryout prophetic. Tryout prophetic, because it's a thought of mine. They're still waiting for the toxicology report to come back. When the report comes back, they're going to say that George Floyd had drugs in his system that led to his breathing situation.
Yeah.
They're going to figure out a way to lessen the issue. And this is why I say that the folks that normally run these kind of things, the ambulance chasers and the people that shouting and screaming out, they need to sit down right now and really, really pull together a strategy. Benjamin Crump is on this. I text him today.
Yeah.
I text him today with a phenomenal prayer, letting him know that I'm praying for him, believing God. And I said to him what I just said now, the old playbook. And he texted me back, thank you, Bishop Bloomer. Thank you, Bishop Bloomer. I'll take that into consideration.
Wow.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's true, because the old playbook, and I'm seeing it beginning to unfold, they're getting away from the issue of what transpired.
Right, right. And we always do. We always make perpetrators out of the victims, and we make victims out of the perpetrators. Always. The first thing we do is we talk about drugs in their system, whether they had it or not, and then we dig up things that they did 20 years ago, as though that was some justification for killing them today. We always do that. It is a systemic thing. I think it is a playbook. I really think it is a playbook, because it always happens every time.
Mike, we got plenty of questions and not a lot of time.
Okay.
But you're already a resident here, so we'll be back Friday or 2 or next or Monday or what have you soon. But I really, really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
I really, really do. This is one of those days I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I'm again honored to be on. I'm glad that you opened the door for this, because this is really, really heavy on my heart as well. And of course, when you called me to be on, it wasn't for this.
Nope.
We were going to talk about the church.
That's correct.
Reopen.
We still need to talk about that. Here we go. Question.
What do you feel Black people should focus on most other than prayer? Financial sanctions, unity, etc.?
Try to go to quick answers so I can get as many of these questions in.
Self-empowerment.
Explain.
Focus on the things that you can do that makes you not dependent on other people.
Wow, great. Question.
Are you familiar with Candace Owens? If yes, what's your opinion on her views about Black America?
Do you see my face? She's the black friend of every racist white person who says, I have a black friend who agrees 100% with me.
Wow. Question.
This morning on the news, they showed the CNN reporter getting arrested live on national television. What did you think about that?
I don't know who the third person was, but I thought it was very interesting that the reporter who was on camera was black, that his cameraman was Mexican, and I'm not sure who the third person was. That they not only showed them their press credentials, because they let them go, they actually issued a tweet that said they let them go after they verified they were part of the media. But they verified they were part of the media
while they were arresting them.
Yeah, and they were live on the air, which should have been some kind of clue. And the CNN labels all over the cameras and bags and all that stuff should have also been some kind of clue. But I just thought it was interesting that one was a black man, one was a Mexican man, and surely CNN wasn't the only news crew on the scene. I find that hard to believe. And I would love to know who gave the order. Well, you mentioned that earlier today.
Well, the young man who was arrested, when they asked him and said, what happened? He said, the police officer said, I'm just following orders.
Right.
When the governor came out, the governor said that he had demanded that they gave orders that they secure the perimeters and anyone that went across those things should be arrested.
Right.
That right there is a manifestation of the stupidity of law enforcement, and them abusing their authority.
Yes.
Because the press, in this country, being arrested, chills went through my body when I saw them arresting him.
Right.
Because I started saying, uh-oh, we in trouble now.
Yeah. Yeah.
The young man who was arrested, when he came back, kind, but I don't think he handled it well.
Right. He was almost too diplomatic about everything.
I think he should have came out and say, you know, I'm here to do my job and what have you, but I'm this color. And now I really, really feel what it's like to have a knee on my camera. This should have never happened.
Never happened. Minneapolis is having one heck of a week. Just one terrible, terrible thing after another.
Wow. Question.
So why do you think many of the white pastors go silent during these times?
Oh boy, this one's tough. But it's not tough because I don't know. It's tough because I do know. I do agree with something that Pastor Dick said earlier about they don't know how to respond. They don't know what to say. But I think a lot of it is, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. A lot of them are in cahoots. Not that they're part of the system, but they agree with it. And not consciously necessarily, but subconsciously.
Systemically.
Yes. They thought what happened to George Floyd was terrible, and they thought the riots last night were worse. So that is a systemic thing. And here's a very, very interesting thing. White people get outraged over looting, but white people looted the ancestors of the people who were looting last night. They went to Africa and stole people and brought them back here. That's looting. White countries have looted the world. And they're always looting countries.
You better pray You better pray that your black friends got an empty room in their house. But let me tell you something, white boy. When they get you, question number 10. Before we go to a question, let me ask you a question personally. Has your mother been speaking to you since you started this new program?
No, she's scared of it. When I started with Terrence Crutcher and was telling her some of the stuff that I was doing related to that and the documentary that we're working on, she was scared for me.
Yeah.
She said, "You're an activist," and I said, "Huh." I was thinking of myself as a filmmaker, but yeah, I guess so. And she said, "Please don't do that." And I said, "I have to." So she's scared and she wishes that I wouldn't talk about it. And that could also be a reason why a lot of people just won't talk about it. But they have to.
She doesn't want anything to happen to her son.
Right.
And she's lived long enough to know how vicious people are.
Yeah.
That's what Dick Burnell was saying. He said he's from World War II. He's lived a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, when Pastor Dick mentioned that, things changed after World War II, things changed after 9/11, things changed because of the pandemic. You know what hasn't changed? Being black in America.
Wow.
Not much. Not much.
Okay. When is Mike coming back?
Mike will be back.
When is Mike coming back?
Will he be back next week or the week after that? Maybe next week or the week after.
Mike, you're back next week or the week after that.
We'll work it out.
Mike, we really have to talk about the churches.
Yeah.
But today, fabulous show. I would allow you, if anything happens to you, to sleep in a room here at my house. But since I don't want the problem that comes along with it, you can't come.
Can you sneak me in the back door or something?
That I can do. But my problem is that you won't shut up. There's nothing wrong. Those of you that get all in the frenzies every time Bishop Bloomer says something, there's nothing wrong with me and Mike talking the way we talk. Now we're laughing, but we're very serious.
Yeah.
That we're not. I wouldn't say that our joke is a joke.
Yeah.
It may be jokey, but we're not joking.
Yeah.
And so that
spoonful of sugar.
Huh?
Spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Yeah. And for those of you who just can't get it right, Equal does the same thing. It helps it go down. Yeah.